Hare Krishna. Welcome to this episode of Caitanya Charitamrita. So today we'll be reading on from the Adi Leela, 17th chapter, 101 verse onwards. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya. चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तु ते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गे राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरि वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So more wondrous pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Adi Leela chapter 17, text 101 onwards. आरदिन एक भिक्षुक आयला मागीते प्रभुर नृत्य देखी नृत्य लागिलो करते. On another day, a mendicant came to beg alms from the Lord's house, but when he saw the Lord dancing, he also began to dance. प्रभु संगे नृत्य करे परम उल्लासे प्रभु तारे प्रेम दिलो प्रेम रसे भासे. He danced with the Lord because he was favored by love of Krishna. Thus he flowed in the mellows of love of Godhead. आरदिन ज्योतिषु सर्वज्ञ एक आयला ताहारे सम्मान करे प्रभु प्रश्न कोइलो. On another day, an astrologer came who was said to know everything, Sarvajna, past, present, and future. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu received him with all honor and put this question before him. Purport. Brahmanas generally used to become astrologers, Ayurvedic physicians, teachers, and priests. Although highly learned and respectable, such Brahmanas went from door to door to distribute their knowledge. A Brahmana would first go to a householder's home to give information about the functions to be performed on a particular tithi or date. But if there were sickness in the family members would consult the Brahmana as a physician, and the Brahmana would give instruction and some medicine. Often, since the Brahmanas were expert in astrology, people would also be greatly inquisitive about their past, present, and future. Although the Brahmana appeared at Lord Chaitanya's house as a beggar, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu received him with great respect because he was a qualified Brahmana who knew the astrological science perfectly. Although Brahmanas would go door to door just like beggars, they were honored as very respectable guests. This was the system in Hindu society 500 years ago during the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This system was current even 100 years ago, even 50 or 60 years ago. When we were children, such Brahmanas would visit householders like humble beggars, and people would derive great benefit from the mercy of such Brahmanas. The greatest benefit was that a householder could save a great deal of money from being spent on doctor bills because the Brahmanas, aside from explaining the past, present, and future, could ordinarily cure all kinds of diseases simply by giving instructions and some medicine. Thus, no one was bereft of the benefit of a first class physician, astrologer, and priest. The most important members of ISKCON should give careful attention to our Dallas school, where children are being taught Sanskrit and English to become perfect Brahmanas. If they are actually trained as perfect Brahmanas, they can save society from rogues and ruffians. Instead, people can live happily under the protection of qualified Brahmanas. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita 4.13 gives special stress to the division of society. Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha. Unfortunately, some people are now claiming to be Brahmanas simply by birthright with no qualifications. Therefore, the entire society is in chaos. Now, here, in this one verse, we can understand a great deal of system, of the Vedic times. Today, the education departments, it costs so much money. And in the end, there's no theistic education. People are left in the dark about the real origin of everything. And the scientists, they deliberately deny God. And in that way, they don't have spiritual knowledge. They don't have subtle sciences. Astrology is actually a material science. It is a science, not the science which is known to modern man, which is very, very defective. The science which is known to modern man is just on a very gross level. They don't know higher subtle material sciences even. They have no idea, and they will just deny because in their idea there's no way of accessing such knowledge. So they think this is just superstition. This is just thing of the past. This is a method for them to decry what we have and establish their low class science as the authority, and anything and everything that can be verified with that rubric will be accepted as bona fide. Otherwise, it's just superstition or whatever, faith based or semi faith based or whatever. That's how they classify things. So we should not subscribe to their rubric. Rubric means the framework from which they evaluate things. So we have to have our own rubric. Our framework is that we accept Vedic literature as truth, and only that is truth. Now, whatever the material scientists are doing, some technological inventions or whatever, yeah, they are given certain leeway to manipulate nature to an extent, and that is what they're doing. They cannot go beyond that. They have, even if they can never understand spiritual knowledge. And even material subtle sciences, they cannot understand without actually taking to this authorized process of sampradaya, parampara, these things, the shastra. That's the proper way of receiving. And tapasya, yogic powers, and all these things. So now a Brahmana, he fulfills a very, very important part of society. Now here we can see that he is acting as an astrologer, he is acting as even spiritual teacher, he is acting as a physician. So he teaches many, many different subject matters. But compare that to today, they have a centralized health system. Some countries have, some countries don't. But everything is very expensive. And when you go to the doctor, most of the time he's just lying. He doesn't even know anything. He's just Googling things that I also can do. Many times I've been to the doctor and I was not satisfied with the doctor's diagnosis, and he did not actually find anything. With my own studying my own symptoms, when I just Googled a little bit, I came to a much better understanding of the condition I have than what the doctor described to me. he himself, I suggested to the doctor a few times that, this is what I looked up, and I think I have all the symptoms of this condition. I think this is the condition I have. And they said, yeah, I think that can be also a possibility. Of course, they don't want to, they want to save their face. So they say, yeah, that's a possibility. Actually, that's the thing. But, and they take a lot of money for that. And Ayurveda is such a powerful science, and if it is especially done properly, it is such a powerful science. I mean, imagine, many people think in different ways that, Ayurveda is just, health supplements kind of thing. It's not like a real medicinal system. Well, it was always throughout the millions of years. It was undone by the Britishers when they came to India in 19th century. That's when it was replaced. And early 20th century, this Western allopathy was made the mainstream medicine, because there is a lot of money to be made in that. If you know that the plant next to your house is the cure for your condition, no money can be made out of you. But if you do not know, then they can extract money from you. So it is to keep the people in the dark, and medicine has to be some kind of chemicals mixing, and some hi-fi lab, and some big machines, and only then you can have a medicine. Otherwise, you cannot. And that's not a fact. People have been cured for so many, of so many illnesses before. And in Ramayana we have the Sanjeevani. Lakshman was, of course, his supreme personality of Godhead, but for the pastimes he was going to die, and this herb rejuvenated him completely overnight. And I was watching this video many years ago, many years ago, more than a decade ago, many years ago. I don't even remember. So in that video, this was an Ayurvedic doctor in Kerala or something. He took some leaves from the plant in his backyard, and then he just with a, what do you say? He pounded on the leaf and then made it into a paste and all that, and he cut. There is a cut meat pieces. It's a dead, a chicken, or I don't know what it was. And then he put that, and then put it in the fridge. And then next day morning, it was one piece. It was pieces, and then it became one piece. I mean, just imagine. So, imagine doing that to a living person who has some, big wound, and then if this is applied and it heals so fast. There was an account in a small book called Drums Along the Amazon. I think Indradyumna Swami, one of the ISKCON gurus, bogus guru, but he went to an expedition in the Amazon River many years. I think maybe in the 80s or 90s, and he was sick. I think because of some, I don't know, disease or what. Then these tribal people, they put something in his mouth, and they made some preparation, and then it was stinking like anything. I don't know if it was non-veg or veg or whatever. He was so helpless; he couldn't do anything. He was just, finished. So they thought he would even die. Then they put something in the mouth, and it was hard to, smell or swallow. But somehow it was given to him, and then next day morning he was full of energy. Done. All sickness gone overnight. So these things are there. And as comment section is also, this big pharma is actually big corruption. Yeah, it is. So this is something we have to understand, that now it is, you see, even if you have insurance will only cover the mainstream allopathy, and Ayurveda doesn't cover. And Ayurveda also, you go to the doctor, it is very costly nowadays. At least in Singapore. So it's very costly because they have no other ways to make money. But you see our Vedic culture, no big institutions, no Harvard University, no big centralized universities which um, have the authority on this. It's all very decentralized. Every Brahmana everywhere, they know, and even the ladies of the house, they know how to cure many things, because the children will easily get sick here and there, and then they know this remedies, all these things. So it was common knowledge back then. Now, very hardly anybody knows anything. What diet to take and what happens exactly, how the body works, what medicines, what are the herbs that can be used as medicines and for what purpose, what herbs can be mixed for what purpose, kapha, pitta, vayu, and all this. Kapha, pitta, vayu, that kind of rubric or framework of analyzing health and through pulse detection just by finger, that is, these are unknown to modern. I mean, of course, they know the pulse, but they cannot make much out of the pulse. But if the Ayurveda, they check the pulse. The doctor checks the pulse, and if the pulse is like the movement of a sparrow, there's one condition. A crow, one condition. So different birds and animals, how their gait, how their walking style is, like that, like that, like that. The bird, if you see, tick, 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 tick. So you can see, you can analyze which animal. It's not experimental, it's revealed. Krishna reveals um, these knowledge in the Vedic literature. So when we observe that, so Krishna is giving hints in the nature itself, but now we don't have that connect because we don't know what is the connection. So but these things Krishna has given us easily, um, you know remembered, hints, easy to remember hints, so that we can, from nature, we can have all these answers. So in this way, the Ayurveda was, is there. And similarly, the astrology is a science. Now you will see in the future verses, coming verses today, that this astrologer, could calculate what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in his previous life. That is the kind of, science we have. They look at the map of the sky and then they analyze. This kind of science is unknown to modern man, right? It is completely unknown. What? 2721 purport about Ayurveda. Okay, let's go and see what is there. Therefore, understood that in this verse, that medical science and knowledge of medicine was also inaugurated by the personality of Godhead in his incarnation of Dhanvantari, and thus the knowledge is recorded in the Vedas. The Vedas are the source of all knowledge, and thus knowledge in medical science is also there for the perfect cure of the diseases of the living entity. The embodied living entity is diseased by the very construction of his body. The body is the symbol of diseases. The disease may differ from one variety to another, but disease must be there just as there is birth and death for everyone. So, by the grace of the personality of Godhead, not only are diseases of the body and mind cured, but also the soul is relieved of the constant repetition of birth and death. The name of the Lord is also called Bhavaushadhi, or the source of curing the disease of material existence. Yeah. So anyway, these are just let's go back. Okay, you see. কেয়া ছিল আমি পূর্ব জন্মে কহ গণি গণিতে লাগিলা সর্বজ্ঞ প্রভু বাক্য শুনি. Please tell me who I was in my previous birth, the Lord said. Please tell me by your astrological computations. Hearing the words of the Lord, the astrologer immediately began to calculate. You see, they're not fools. They're calculating. And he's calculating very complex mathematics. The astronomy requires very complex mathematics, and from the astronomy, the astrological influences of those planets will be found. So it's all a interdependent science. Not interdependent. Actually, astrology depends on astronomy. Astronomy depends on mathematics. I mean, for our understanding of this thing. Purport: through astrology, one can know past, present, and future. Modern Western astrologers have no knowledge of the past or future, nor can they perfectly say anything about the present. Herein we find, however, that after hearing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order, the astrologer immediately began his calculations. This was not a facade. He actually knew how to ascertain one's past life through astrology. A still existing treatise called the Bhrigu Samhita describes a system by which anyone can immediately get information about what he was in the past and what he is going to be in the future. The Brahmanas who went door to door as if beggars had perfect command of such vast knowledge. Thus, the highest knowledge was easily available even to the poorest man in society. The poorest man could inquire from an astrologer about his past, present, and future with no need for business agreements or exorbitant payments. The Brahmana would give him all the benefit of his knowledge without asking remuneration, and the poor man, in return, would offer a handful of rice or anything he had in his possession to satisfy the Brahmana. In a perfect human society, perfect knowledge in any science, medical, astrological, ecclesiastical, and so on, is available even to the poorest man, with no anxiety over payment. In the present day, however, no one can get justice, medical treatment, astrological help, or ecclesiastical enlightenment without money, and since people are generally poor, they are bereft of the benefits of all these great sciences. You look at this is different, very different from capitalist or communist. It's spiritual communism, Prabhupada said, where everything belongs to Krishna. And everybody, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, they act or they execute their duties in service of the Lord. Everything is for that purpose, to enlighten the population to become more God conscious or Krishna conscious. And no money. Now you see, everybody thinks of how to make money from what I know. Everybody. It's all about capitalism. This is capitalism. But our Varnashram Dharma is better than any capitalist or communist system or Marxist or whatever socialist system. It's better than any of that. It is the perfect system of governance of human society, this Varnashram Dharma. So we have to bring back that as much as possible, so that our Krishna consciousness movement can sustain. You see, Krishna said, fourth chapter, first verse, second verse. Evam parampara praptam emam rajarsho vido sakale neha mahata yogo nashtah parantapa. So this Krishna consciousness was being received in the parampara system, but over time it became lost, and therefore Krishna was reviving it again. Why Krishna consciousness became lost in society? Why? Of course, the guru, does not. There is no perfect guru. But why these things happen? Why these things happen? Because it is a societal problem, and people also, over time, their habits, their customs, and everything do not allow them to execute the changes in government that happen. When it is no more Rajarshis, then the government will have a different agenda than to execute the agenda of the Lord. And that's how people will become more and more entangled in material activities and forget progressively their spiritual activities. If you have a society which is built on capitalism, for example, wow, what is this? Do you hear the bang of the door? Please tell me in the comments. So, this capitalism, if I have to survive in capitalism, then the medicine is, we have to pay a lot for the medicines. I have to pay for education. I have to pay for everything, and for that, I have to work. And so, having a family is not, very easy, and I have to work, and everything becomes about money. So then I have to work extra hours to, make that money in order to fulfill those so-called needs. So in this way, it's a vicious cycle of spending more and more time in materialistic activities and nothing for spiritual. There's no time left for spiritual cultivation. And in this way, the disciples in the parampara, they will lose the chance. And there will not be a very high chance of somebody becoming perfect and actually continuing the parampara. But if the culture of the entire world was, it's all about becoming excellent in the Vedic studies and, the following all the sadhana and everything properly, if that is the yardstick of advancement, then everybody would want to advance in that direction. But now, no. So it becomes unsustainable. It becomes unsustainable. So when there is no varnashram system, then it becomes very unsustainable to. You see, now we have Krishna consciousness movement. We have devotees who cannot give up their jobs because otherwise, if they do so, at least in Singapore, they will be sent back to India because they came from India on a work pass. So they have to fulfill that condition. They have to be in that company and then they have to work and then have some time for this. If they want to choose their lifestyle, they can't. They are trapped. So it is not good for them to excessively associate with materialists, and also it's not good for the movement because if they were actually now the serious ones, if they were full on as brahmanas and they do work like this, that like this astrologer who went to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they go house to house and preach, that will be so much benefit for the world. So the movement is not growing enough because there's no system to actually sustain the movement, and therefore in the temple we have to have a society and our own arrangements for funds and everything. So the brahmanas, they have to also worry about raising funds for maintaining the institution and so that the preaching work can go on. Previously there was no institution per se. There's no it's all about parampara. Yes, the guru will have disciples and all that, but there's no institution as such, centralized and everything. No, everywhere decentralized. It's a much better system because it has access everywhere, even in the remotest parts. There will be somebody who knows all these things. Not that they have to travel all the way to a big city to know these things, or if they want to consult an astrologer or a doctor or a spiritual master or something like this, they have to come all the way to the city. No, it used to be decentralized, but now everything is changed. So it becomes very unsustainable, and time spent so much in the material world. It's just the consciousness that how much advancement can one make if he's every day 12 hours logging in the office. How much advancement can he make? He's just struggling to finish his rounds, hardly able to read anything. So this is the condition. And then the children, if they're not sent to the western, this so-called atheistic schools, it is considered a crime. Oh, you're denying them the right of education. But why can't we have a proper education system where the Gurukul system where they learn material and spiritual sciences, everything, and a holistic lifestyle, and with most importantly with solid character. And such people, if they become the future of the world, it'll be so much better. So we just can't sit here and cry about it. Oh, you know what? It's all gone, Kali Yuga. We just every time just say about it. We have to work towards rebuilding that system, and that's what Prabhupada wanted. We cannot just sit and complain. We have to take proactive measures to reinstate this system in society. So it's not going to be easy, especially for the pioneering people. It's not going to be easy. So we have to make the shift. We have to take the leap in order to, give our life to this movement and push on and start first preaching. So how to actually set up this varnashram system now in society? The first thing is the biggest missing piece of the puzzle is the brahmanas. Varnashram means varna. All varnas should be there. Shudras, there is oversupply of Shudras. Some Vaishyas, cow protection hardly no. Trade, yes, maybe banking a little bit. That kind of Vaishyas. It's not a very high grade Vaishyas. Agriculture and cow protection are not taken so seriously. Then, Kshatriyas hardly. Brahmanas, totally no. I'm talking about qualified Brahmanas. These birth-based Brahmanas are useless. You have to go qualified. So that qualified Brahmanas, they are not there. So first of all, create the head of the society. So that head we can get from preaching, book distribution, especially to the younger generation, the students who are, using their head. So if they can be convinced, if some of the population can be convinced, then yes, they can take up. So that's what we need to do. So first thing is to go to the busiest parts of the world and get a lot of people joining, and then once we have a sizable community, then we can expand the preaching more and more and more. And at that time, we will come to a point where more structure needs to be added. And as the preaching goes on, the structure will proportionately come into place, because then the devotees, they can actually now decide on, okay, how to stabilize this whole system and make it sustainable. So then we have, if the governments agree, that's the best. Actually, government should step in. Their only business is to do this. The king should make sure that all his subjects are Krishna conscious, or at least on that nudge to that path. That's what he should do. So if somebody, the whole Brahmana community is doing this for him, he should support it at all, by all means. So if not, at least we crowdsource the funds and the systems, and then make it sustainable in a way, somehow or other. And then eventually the leadership will change, because more and more population, if they are Krishna conscious, they will elect the right leader. And maybe some of them, one amongst the devotees will actually become the leader, and people may vote for him. And this way he can bring more change. So a lot can be done if the people, today everything is democracy now. So people will select the leader. So if they don't have the proper framework to select a leader, if they think that only economic measures will, um, are the thing that we should look out for, or political measures, social measures, civilizational measures, or religious measures, these kinds of things we look out for, then we are not properly, evaluating the leader. So our thing is, yes, religious should be the first, and logically, it's not the religious fanaticism should be allowed. No, logically, philosophically based religious system. Sanatana Dharma is the perfect religious system. And anybody who follows any religion with logic and philosophy that can be justified, um, justifiably beneficial. Okay? Yes, he should be able to follow. Actually, any religious system is proper, but it's the people who make it, who do not follow, and then they distort those teachings, and then it becomes something else. And that's how religion has also become a big problem today. The governments are trying to just manage them. They think it is best if it was not there, but it is there, so we can't, hurt sentiment. So we will just say, yeah, we'll manage them, respect each other, and just superficial. Just there's no purpose to it anymore. So that has to change, because this is the actual purpose of human life. And it was, as you can see here, it was available for everyone. So money was never a hindrance. And that's why you can see previously people used to produce many children. They could manage. Now they cannot manage one or two also. And even then they're working hard like dogs and asses, morning to night. Both parents are working, and then also they can't, save enough money. So this is a system now. So we have to actively try to change that. Okay, so let's go. गणित ध्यान देखे सर्वज्ञ महाज्योतिर्मय अनंत वैकुंठ ब्रह्मांड सबार आश्रय. Through calculation and meditation, the all-knowing astrologer saw the greatly effulgent body of the Lord, which is the resting place of all the unlimited Vaikuntha planets. So not only by calculation, but also by meditation, intuition. So the astrologer should not only be able to calculate, but he should be able to correctly interpret that calculation and that intuition He will get by proper tapasya. Uh, for example, an investigator. When I was a teenager, I read Sherlock Holmes. Fiction, yes, but it was a detective, right? So everybody would see the same crime scene, and he would also see the same crime scene, but he would deduce so much from that, whereas others would not see all the finer details and then the implications of those and how he comes to a conclusion by observing. That kind of investigative intuition um, is not everybody has. Um, so that kind of intuition. So by tapasya, an astrologer can can how to say, come to conclusions from what observations he makes. Okay, and most importantly, to be able to know the Lord and who he was in his past life and accurately describe it like that, one has to be a devotee. You cannot just by astrology. Of course, Prabhupada said here by astrology you can know who's God also, because in the Shastra there is description of the astrology of, of the Lord. Like when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, what was the situation? When Krishna came, what the situation was? When Ram appeared, what the situation was astrologically? So in this way, we can understand. So if an astrologer takes the Shastric words, of course it is revealed knowledge, and then does his calculation, and if they match, oh, this is the same, oh, then it must be Lord. So that's why we have to refer to the Shastras to find who is an incarnation. And even after all that, if he does not have devotion, he cannot. Naham prakash sarvasya yogamaya samavrita. Like the Kauravas, they could not ascertain that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. They just calculated. Even Duryodhan, when the option was there, whether Krishna or his army, Arjuna chose Krishna, and Duryodhan was gladly, he accepted the army. Yeah, this is better because they fight. Krishna is not going to fight anyway. So he did not think that Krishna, if he's on that side, nothing can help this side. All your calculations of big warriors or numbers, nothing matters anymore. So they did not accept him as supreme personality of Godhead and the controller of everything, even after seeing him. So one has to be a devotee, only then he will be revealed. So this is explained in this verse of Stotra Ratna by Yamunacharya. उल्लङ्घित त्रिविधसीम समातिशायि सम्भावनं तव परिव्रढिमस्वभावम् मायाबलेन भवतापि निगुह्यमानं पश्यन्ति केचिदनिशं त्वदनन्यभावाः. O my Lord, everything within material nature is limited by time, space, and thought. Your characteristics, however, being unequaled and unsurpassed, are always transcendental to such limitations. You sometimes cover such characteristics by your own energy, but nevertheless, your unalloyed devotees are always able to see you under all circumstances. You see, your unalloyed devotees are able to see you under all circumstances. So this is what he said. Through calculation and meditation, the all-knowing astrologer Sarvagnya saw the greatly effulgent body of the Lord, which is the resting place of all the unlimited Vaikuntha planets. You see, he saw the greatly effulgent body of the Lord, which is the resting place of all. And we see, that means it's not ordinary. Purport. Here we get some information of the Vaikuntha world or spiritual world. Vaikuntha means without anxiety. In the material world, everyone is full of anxiety, but another world where there is no anxiety is described in the Bhagavad Gita 8.20. Parastasmat tu bhavonyo vyakto vyaktat sanatanah yahasa sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. Yet there is another unmanifest nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. So this Vaikuntha world is beyond this manifested and unmanifested nature. As there are many planets within the material world, there are many millions of planets called Vaikuntha Lokas in the spiritual world. All these Vaikuntha Lokas or superior planets rest on the effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagadanda Koti, Brahma Samhita 5.40. The Brahman effulgence emanating from the body of the Supreme Lord creates innumerable planets in both the spiritual and material worlds. Thus, these planets are creations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The astrologers saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be the very same personality of Godhead. We can just imagine how learned he was, yet he was traveling door to door just like an ordinary beggar for the highest benefit of human society. See, not only the common man would have free counsel of the Brahmanas, but even the king would have free counsel of the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas will not take a pay from the king for all their advice. It's a very, very honorable profession. Um, and because they don't take money, they can speak freely. They're not tied to, because when there is money, there is corruption. As they say, if you want to find where the corruption is, follow the money trail. Follow the money trail. So then you will know where is the seat of corruption. Because Kali Yuga, Parikshit Maharaj did not allow Kali to come in. And then Kali said, I am also your subject, so please give me a place where I can live. He said, you can live wherever there is meat eating, illicit sex, gambling, intoxication. Kali said, okay, but there is no such place in your kingdom. Okay, then you live where there is money, where there is gold. He said, okay. So, where there is gold, where there is money, you can expect Kali. Kali means quarrel, corruption, all kinds of. What is corruption? I cheat and so that I can have my son's gratification. And in that endeavor, I will create enemies. I will create. If I have power, then I will not let them, get to me. So there's so much that happens. Corruption. If there is money, so the Brahmanas they don't take anything, and therefore no one can tell them what to do. They will tell people what to do. They retain their power, the freedom of their, ability to speak the truth, rather than getting um, trapped by the money of these rich people. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also taught us that he did not want to see Prataprudra in the beginning because he wanted to teach us that we should not be eager to meet these rich people, influential people. We should not be, because it is very dangerous. What they deal with is very dangerous, and if we get into their trap, it's very hard to come out. Um, Only if they're extremely serious, yes, or just to engage them, just but never too close with them. It's not worth it. As devotees, we should not be very close to these uh, people of money. It's dangerous for our spiritual life. परम तत्व परम पर ब्रह्म परम ईश्वर देखी प्रभुर मूर्ति सर्वज्ञ होइलो फाफर. Seeing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be the same absolute truth, the supreme Brahman, the personality of Godhead, the astrologer was confused. Purport. Herein it is clearly indicated that the absolute truth, the supreme Brahman, is, in the ultimate issue, the supreme personality of Godhead. Therefore, a person is the beginning of all things. The beginning of all things is a person, not simply like some big bang, some concentrated matter and just exploded. No. All that is crap. If at all it expanded. Yes, we also have the explanation in our Bhagavatam that the universe expands. But that singular point, the Big Bang, so called they call it, in our Shastra it is explained as the Hiranyagarbha, coming from the navel of the Lord. Of course, that is within the Garbha, within the universe. Sorry, the Mahavishnu, it's coming. The universes are coming from the pores of his body, and when they come out, they are just like very small, just like a seeds, and then they expand. So that is where the Big Bang came from. If they think there is Big Bang, that expansion of energy came from the pores of the Mahavishnu. That these scientists won't know. So a person is always behind all these manifestations. So, um, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 10.8, Matta Sarvam Pravartate. Everything begins from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord is the supreme living entity. Therefore, whatever exists, whether matter or spirit, is all but an emanation from the Supreme Person or Supreme Life, not some dead matter, life, and a person. The modern scientist's theory that life begins from matter is nonsense. Both matter and life begin from life. In fact, as much as they say that, oh, life came from matter, until today, they don't have a clear proof. When did it happen that matter converted into life? When did that happen? They can never point. They don't know. They just skim over that. But if you actually stop them and ask, wait a minute, you said from matter some combination and this came, the life started as a unicellular life and whatever. When did that happen? How did that happen? Can you explain the exact event in history when that happened? Or what conditions can actually make that happen? What are the possibilities? They don't even know the conditions that can make that happen because there's no such condition. There is no such condition of material elements coming together and forming life. Many people come up with many different theories, but none can explain this. Only our Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam have the complete logical and philosophical explanations for this. Both matter and life begin from life. Unfortunately, the scientists do not know this scientific fact. They are drifting in the darkness of their so-called knowledge. You see, as much as science is like kind of tells that we have to be rational, we can't be superstitious, we can't be dogmatic. You know what? The scientists are dogmatic. They say only this way, only this scientific way. That is the only way to know the truth. This is called, I would say, scientism. Scientism. It's like a religion almost. It's like a cult, and they are thrusting that cult over everyone. This is the logical, rational way of understanding things. Critical thinking, they say, but their critical thinking is within their confines of their framework, and that framework is what is um, the ism or the ideology. So it is a set ideology. It is not a free rational thinking. There's no such thing because they think, oh, it is all free and all that, but they think also that there is no other way to know anything other than these scientific tools and equations and these theories. Well, many things can't be known by science. Uh, like, for example, a scientist may marry a woman. Okay, a man may marry a woman. He's not marrying her based on some scientific, you know, calculations that this will be the perfect match. No such thing. No such thing. It's just faith and evaluating faith, and also kind of evaluating the other person. Okay, this might work. But of course, it may not work because there are unlimited things that can go wrong. Accident can happen, fights can happen, something else can happen. There's endless possibilities, right? Nobody knows that if the marriage of the scientist will actually last. Anything can happen. If it lasts, yeah, yeah, he may probably made the right choice or something like that. Maybe even wrong choice in one sense because he's getting attached. That's the other thing. They do not know actually what is afterlife then. So they cannot, with science, they cannot explain what is that thing that is missing in a dead body that was there in the living body. What is that spark that is there? So they can't really point at anything. So many things you can't know just by your senses. So this revealed knowledge, that's why this is a branch of philosophy called epistemology. Epistemology is the science of knowledge. The science of knowledge, or how is knowledge gained? This is part of philosophy. If anybody studies philosophy for degree or masters, they will know epistemology is the subject of knowledge which deals with how knowledge is gathered. So the scientists' way of gathering knowledge is just through their senses and with the instruments that they create, and postulations, theories, which they then experiment and see whether it can hold the test of whether it holds water or not. So that's how they do it. A little bit of speculation and then experimentation on the field, construct huge, humongous, you know, research centers and laboratories, and this is how they think is the only way to find out things, or a chemical laboratory or a biological laboratory. So in this way they think. So that is a framework, that is a dogma in its own. They think that there is no other way to know things. So that is actually scientism. So it is an ism. It is an ideology. It is a set ideology that is very limited and it produces limited results. They say, "Oh, but technology so much is working because of this science. How can you say it is not working?" No, it is working, but that's all it can do. Nothing more than that. Nothing more than that. To a certain level, Krishna has given us the ability to manipulate the material elements, but more than that, we cannot do much. Okay. বলিতে না পারে কিছু মৌন হইল প্রভু পুনঃ প্রশ্ন কইল কহিতে লাগিল. Struck with wonder, the astrologer remained silent, unable to speak. But when the Lord again put the question before him, he replied as follows: पूर्वजन्मे छिला तुमी जगत आश्रय परिपूर्ण भगवान सर्वैश्वर्यमय. My dear sir, in your previous birth, you were the shelter of all creation, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, full of all opulences. पूर्वे जय छे छिला तुमी ए बेहोशे रूप दुर्विज्ञेय नित्यानंद तुम्हार स्वरूप. You are now the same personality of Godhead that you were in your previous birth. Your identity is inconceivable eternal happiness. Purport. By the power of astrological science, one can even ascertain the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything is to be identified by its symptoms. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is identified by the symptoms mentioned in the Shastras. It is not that anyone and everyone can become God without proof from Shastras. Um, if one does not consult the scriptures, then one may mistake. And that's what Balabhadra Bhattacharya said. He mistook. That part is there, no? You see, Madhya 1899. भट्टाचार्य तबे कोहे प्रभुर चरणे आज्ञा देहो जाय करे कृष्ण दर्शने जाय. You see, so at that time Balabhadra Bhattacharya placed a request at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, "Please give me permission to go see Lord Krishna directly." So he wanted to see Krishna without, because just because people were saying, "Oh, that is Krishna," oh, he was just wanting to go there. You see, therefore, in the purport, you can see everyone has to see Krishna according to the verdict of Vedic literatures presented by the self-realized spiritual master, not just Vedic literature. Vedic literature presented by the self-realized spiritual master. Then only. So this is a very, very specific way how to glean knowledge from the Vedas. A sincere person is able to see Krishna through the transparent via medium of Sri Gurudev, the spiritual master. Unless one is enlightened by the knowledge given by the spiritual master, he cannot see things as they are, even though he remains constantly with the spiritual master. This incident at Kalyadaha is very instructive for those eager to advance in Krishna consciousness. Now, Now, if we see 18.101, just two verses later on in the purport, Prabhupada says one more thing. You see, although Balabhadra Bhattacharya was personally serving Lord Krishna in his role as a devotee, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he mistook Lord Krishna for an ordinary man and an ordinary man for Lord Krishna because he did not follow the rules set down by Shastra and Guru. Contrast this with the astrologer. He did not accept an ordinary man for Krishna. He is not saying that he did not mistake, oh, because some people think Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is just a saint, a devotee, and not God, Krishna. So, but this astrologer is saying you are God. So, was he mistaken? He did not mistake because Shastra actually proclaims Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very, very clearly, and we have done a whole class on this I think a few years ago, 3 years ago maybe. So there is a lot of scriptural evidence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu being Krishna himself. So when one has Shastra and Guru, then he knows. If he takes to it properly, then he will know. But just by being with a devotee or a guru or an acharya, self-realized acharya even, I mean in this case even God himself, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, still Balabhadra Bhattacharya made a mistake of accepting an ordinary man for Krishna and Krishna for an ordinary man. Why should he be so excited to go see Krishna? He was with Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna, but that faith was not there. So even in front of God, we can be in Maya. If we don't choose to accept His guidance and abide by His injunctions, then we will actually miss out, even if the Lord is right in front of us. So Shastra and Guru is very important. And because this astrologer knew the Shastric knowledge, what is the symptom of an incarnation of Vishnu, and when he knew that, and then when he calculated, he got the same thing as what Shastra say is the symptom of an incarnation, astrological symptoms. Wow, how is this possible? That means the person here is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He verified with Shastra. That's how to get to it. Everything has to be verified naturally like this with Shastra. প্রভু হাসি কইলা তুমি কিচ্ছু না জানিলা পূর্বে আমি আছিলা জাতিতে গোয়ালা. When the astrologer was speaking so highly of him, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stopped him and began to smile. My dear sir, I think you do not know very clearly what I was, for I know that in my previous birth I was a cowherd boy. he Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not like. What he's doing here is he's teaching us what, that if somebody says that oh, you are God, or he's or anybody, if anybody says that oh, the such and such a person is God, in Kali Yuga there's no avatar. So if he comes as Channa avatar, hidden incarnation, which is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Buddha also. He's also hidden incarnation, but especially Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who brought the highest philosophy, whereas Buddha, he brought a defective philosophy. But anyway, this thing here, that he is trying to evade that truth, not because of anything. He just wants to show an example that we should never allow other people to call us as God or call any other person in this material world as God. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stopped him and began to smile. Oh, my dear sir, I think you do not know very clearly what I was. So he just, whereas the astrologer did perfect calculation and he came to the right conclusion. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I don't think you know very well. I don't think you're that good of an astrologer. Actually, I was a cowherd boy. গোপগৃহে জন্ম ছিল গাভীর রাখাল সেই পুণ্যে হইলা এবে ব্রাহ্মণ ছাওয়ালা. In my last birth, I was born in the family of cowherd men and I gave protection to the calves and cows. Because of such pious activities, I have now become the son of a Brahmana. Now, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has no pious or nothing to gain. That is also stated in here, right? 5.15 of Bhagavad Gita. नादत्ते कस्यचित् पापं न चैव सुकृतं विभुः अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानं तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवः. Nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. So he has no, another word in the Ishopanishad is apapavidham. He not only that no sin can touch him or piety can touch him, but if there is any tinge of sin or piety, that will go away when you touch the Lord. When you take to his holy name, you will be freed of both sin and piety, because piety is also actually bondage only. We have to have transcendental activities, not even materially pious activities. Materially pious activities are just less sinful activities, because ultimately to go away from Krishna is sin itself. Now, even if I want to go to heavenly planets, worship some, and do some charitable work, if I consider them piety, but that's still not complete original. Um, I mean, how to say, constitutional position of the living entity. So there is still sense gratification, indirect, direct sense gratification. It's all still sense gratification. So coming back. So and another thing is, so let's read the purport here. The words of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the greatest authority, herein clearly indicate that one becomes pious simply by keeping cows and protecting them. Not simply keeping cows, but also protecting them. Unfortunately, people have become such rascals that they do not even care about the words of an authority. People generally consider cowherd men lowly members of society, but herein Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms that they are so pious that in their next lives they are going to be Brahmanas. The caste system has a specific purpose. If this scientific system is followed, human society will get the greatest benefit. Heeding this instruction by the Lord, people should serve cows and calves and in return get ample quantities of milk. There is no loss in serving the cows and calves, but modern human society has become so degraded that instead of giving protection to the cows and serving them, people are killing them. How can they expect peace and prosperity in human society while committing such sinful activities? It is impossible. सर्वज्ञ को है आमी ताहा ध्याने देखिला ताहाते ऐश्वर्य देखी फाफर होइला. The astrologer said, what I saw in meditation was full of opulence, and therefore I was confused. Purport. It appears that the astrologer not only was a knower of past, present, and future through astrological calculation, but was a great meditator as well. Therefore, he was a great devotee and could see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be the same personality as Krishna. So, actually, if one is a devotee, one does not even need astrological calculation to see Krishna. They can identify this is Krishna. So, he not only saw him to be Krishna, but also proved it by astrological calculation. He was puzzled, however, about whether Krishna and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were actually the same person. সেই রূপে এই রূপে দেখিয়ে কাকার কভু ভেদ দেখিয়ে মায়ায় তোমার. I am certain that your form and the form I saw in my meditation are one and the same. If I see any difference, this is an act of your illusory energy. Purport. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. In the vision of a perfect devotee, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a combination of Radha and Krishna. One who sees Lord Chaitanya to be different from Krishna is under the illusory energy of the Lord. It appears that the astrologer was already an advanced devotee, and when he came into the presence of the Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he became perfectly self-realized and could see that the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are one and the same Supreme Person. जे हाओ शे हाओ तुम्हें तोमाके नमस्कार, प्रभु तारे प्रेम दिया कोइलो पुरस्कार. The all knowing astrologer concluded, whatever you may be or whoever you may be, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. By his causeless mercy, the Lord then gave him love of Godhead, thus rewarding him for his service. Purport: the incident of Lord Chaitanya's meeting the all knowing astrologer is not mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, but we cannot therefore say that it did not take place. On the contrary, one must accept the statement of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami that whatever the Chaitanya Bhagavat did not mention, he has especially mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. एक दिन प्रभु विष्णु मंडपे वसिया, मधुआन मधुआन बोले न डाकिया. One day the Lord sat down in the corridor of a Vishnu temple and began calling very loudly, bring some honey, bring some honey. नित्यानंद गोसाई प्रभुर आवेश जानिल, गंगा जल पात्र आनी सम्मुखे धरिल. Nityananda Prabhu Gosai, understanding the ecstatic mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, brought a pot of Ganga water as a token and put it before him. He asked for honey, he brought Ganga water. Now, there's no explanation for that. What is going on? So these are confidential pastimes of the Lord. Apparently, I think he was in the mood of Baladev. Um, in his, I think, 10th canto it is mentioned, I think 63rd chapter or something like this, where Balram, he wants honey and then he becomes intoxicated with honey and he wants to dance with his girlfriends who are gopis but with Balram, not Krishna. And he wants the Yamuna to come to him and then she does not listen at first and then he brings her by force and then the Yamuna becomes scared. So in that mood he was, and the Ganga water is like the Yamuna water, honey. I don't know. Full details I do not know, but it's connected to that Leela. Jalpan koriya nache hoya vihvala, Yamuna karshan Leela dekhaye sakala. Yeah, so it is Yamuna karshan Leela. So it is that. After drinking the water, Lord Chaitanya became so ecstatic that he began to dance. Thus everyone saw the pastime of attracting the river Yamuna. Purport: Yamuna Karshan Leela is the pastime of attracting the Yamuna. One day Sri Baladev wanted the Yamuna river to come before him, and when the river Yamuna refused, he took his plough, wanting to dig a canal so that the Yamuna would be obliged to come there. Since Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the original form of Baladev, in his ecstasy, he asked everyone to bring honey. In this way, all the devotees standing there saw the Yamuna Karshan Leela. In this Leela, Baladev was accompanied by his girlfriends. After drinking a honey beverage called Varuni, he wanted to jump into the Yamuna and swim with the girls. It is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 10:65. So here it is. 65th chapter, 25th to 30th and 33rd verses, that Lord Baladev asked the Yamuna to come near and that when the river disobeyed the order of the Lord, he became angry and thus wanted to snatch her near to him with his plough. The Yamuna, however, very much afraid of Lord Balaram's anger, immediately came and surrendered unto him, praying to the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and admitted her fault. She was then excused. This is the sum and substance of the Yamuna Karshan Leela. The incident is also described in the prayer of Jayadev Goswami concerning the 10 incarnations. Vahasi vapushi vishade vasanam jaladabham halahati bhiti milita yamunabham केशवधृता हलधर रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे. So next verse. मदमत्त गति बलदेव अनुकार आचार्य शेखर तारे देखे रामाकार. When the Lord in his ecstasy of Baladev was moving as if intoxicated by the beverage, Advaita Acharya, the chief of the Acharyas, Acharya Shekhar, saw him in the form of Balaram. So this is not contradictory because Krishna is the source of all incarnations. So every other incarnation is already there in Krishna. So Advaita Acharya saw Balaram in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now you may say, oh, Balaram Hoilo Nitai. I mean, Nityananda Prabhu is Balaram. How come Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Balaram? That's the thing. Krishna, he is the origin of everything. He is the original Supreme Personality of God. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. वनमाली आचार्य देखे सोनार लागल सबे मिली नृत्य करे आवेशे विह्वल. Vanamali Acharya saw a golden plough in the hand of Balaram, and the devotees all assembled together and danced, overwhelmed by ecstasy. এই মত নৃত্য হইল চারি প্রহর সন্ধ্যায় গঙ্গা স্নান করে সবে গেলা ঘর. সন্ধ্যায় গঙ্গা স্নান করে সবে গেলা ঘর. In this way, they danced continuously for char prahar, means 12 hours. And in the evening, they all took a bath in the Ganga and then returned to their homes. Imagine dancing for 12 hours. What kind of stamina? So that much they were in ecstasy. नागरिया लोके प्रभु जबे आज्ञा दिला घरे घरे संकीर्तन करिते लागिला. The Lord ordered all the citizens of Navadvip to chant the Hare Kṛṣṇa mantra, and in each and every home they began to perform Sankirtan regularly. Okay, so here I would like to actually stop because this is a very long story. It is the Chand Kazi. From this 106 verses is the Chand Kazi's story. So I would like to do this maybe another session because I don't want to stop it halfway. Okay. So I'll just stop the class here. Any questions or comments on this topic? So there's a question. Should devotees consult astrologers? I saw an advertisement for marriage astrology in an ISKCON channel. Well, yeah, it is part of our science. Just hope it is a correct calculation done by whoever is doing it. Astrology is not only for calculating marriage compatibility. For many things, Prabhupada also every day he would see if he has to go, if he has some engagement, and if there is Rahu Kalam coming, so he would first put his shoes or his sandals outside first. If he had to leave in the Rahu Kalam or something, then he would put his sandals out first and then later on go out. So they have meaning, of course, but if we delve into that too much, then we will miss our Krishna consciousness. So ultimately, all inauspiciousness can be nullified by chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Even this astrological science is, so much we don't even know. Some devotees have studied. It requires time and effort to actually know how to do all these calculations. Of course, now there are some softwares doing it, but even then, one should know how to do the calculations without any software to understand the whole principle from the basic, from the foundational understanding. So these things are required. So yeah, usually astrologer is consulted, but again, how good enough an astrologer he is, that's another thing. So Big Bang is referring multiverse theory instead of creation of our own universe. No, because each universe starts like that. From each universe starts as a small Hiranyagarbha, a small filament or like an egg, very small. and then it eventually expands, and then after that it contracts and goes back into the whole pores of the Mahavishnu. So each universe comes like that. So for each universe, there is kind of a so-called Big Bang, you may say, in that way. But it's not just a atheistic Big Bang or what, some explosion happening. It is coming from the Lord. But they're calculating the age of this Big Bang around 14 billion years ago. But according to our Vedic cosmology perspective, the age of the universe we are presently in are way more than that time. Yes. So I saw a piece, an article on this. So what the I don't know the calculations. I think it's from the last devastation because there are multiple devastations that happen. So, and every night of Brahma, there is devastation again. So, from the last devastation, it comes to around the same calculation. Um, a little difference, but almost very close. I need to know the exact explanation that was given again. I need to read that article again. Um, I can search for that article, but it will take some time. So I might as well do it another time and present that. So it's actually these things in consideration because what they know as the origin of the universe, yeah, as you have said, I mean, ours is 155 trillion 20 billion years ago. It started. So, but there have been multiple devastations. So what they see is from that devastation again there is an origin, which you know can be an explanation for the start that they see. So there are multiple postulations on this. What I read, I may maybe one day. I want to do a whole episode on this cosmology, and maybe even a two or three parts of that, different aspects of the cosmology. Not that I will cover everything, but at least some framework in order for us to understand how Vedic cosmology can be accepted in a logical way for us to um, be comfortable in for us to be comfortable in accepting and explaining it to others. And it's not just a device for making us comfortable, but because if we don't have vocabulary surrounding an idea, then it becomes difficult to explain, right? So we have to have vocabulary and we have to have framework how to actually explain these things. Because one thing is sure, the Vedic scriptures are always right. Now, if I am unable to understand how it is right, then because I will have to face some kind of debate sometime in my life, right? And if we are unable to hold our ground, then we will be looking like idiots. So, at least for answering them, we should have an idea of what is this all about. Um, so, it's a very scholarly subject actually, but um, our attempt will be is that I want to make it a little bit more easy to understand and accessible for the people because that's something what Prabhupada also wanted us to have. That's why in the Mayapur he wanted the Vedic planetarium and everything. Why? Because why are we interested in a subject that is this material world? Well, it is not just the material world; it is a creation of the Lord, and the modern explanation is an atheistic explanation of the creation of the Lord, and that has to be rebutted and replaced with our understanding of creation, and which is the actual factual creation. So we have to explain it. We have to. Our devotees especially should understand it first. So that's why I want to do that. Is there sex in the spiritual world? Yes, there is. So this is the um, relationship of Krishna and the gopis and Krishna and the queens. This is a relationship, but It is nothing like the sex that is found in the material world. Nothing in this material world exists without having its original prototype in the spiritual world. Here it is just a perverted reflection, and the important word there is perverted. Here everything looks perverted, and if we try to attach that perverted nature to Krishna and think that he is pervert, that is a mistake that we would make. So here it becomes everything becomes of a perverted nature, but in the spiritual world it is actually full bliss. And this is why in the beginning stages we should not attempt to read too much about Radha Krishna Leela and all the gopis and all that, because they may resemble ordinary sex life, but it's completely different. So anyway, but this is only with Krishna. It's not that with each other, the devotees each other, they don't have such things. There is no sex attraction for them between the devotees in the Vaikuntha. There's no such thing. All right, so I'll stop here. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.